Hi, my name is Mariam and I will be doing about human immunity for Unit 19 assignment. These are the topics I will cover during this presentation. This first part of the presentation covers Section 1 of the assignment showing an understanding of a non-specific defenders against disease. When bacteria, viruses and other microorganisms enter the body through cuts in the skin, the mouth or the nose, an infection develops. Single-celled organisms known as bacteria are responsible for diseases including meningitis and pneumonia. In contrast to bacteria, viruses require a host in order to reproduce and live. Viral illnesses like chickenpox and the common cold are examples. Fungi causes skin conditions like ringworm and athlete's foot, whereas parasites are to blame for conditions like malaria and scabbles. Direct touch, indirect contact, bug bites, and contaminated food are among ways that infections can spread. Infections spread directly when germs or viruses are transferred to a surface that is then touched by another person and then transferred to that person's body, usually through the mouth. The potential of a cold virus to spread illnesses is expected to decline quickly after several days of survival and indoor surfaces. Infectious illnesses can also be spread by insect bites, by vectors or carriers. This is how ticks and other insects, including mosquitoes, often spread. The bacteria E. coli, which causes food poisoning and may make a person feel extremely ill, can also infect food. The body has three layers of defense to fight against infection and to save our cells and important organs. The innate generally defenses are defense systems that stop infections from entering the body or get rid of invades. These defenses are automatically triggered by genetic programming. The biggest organ is in the body, and our most noticeable physical defense is the skin. The skin epidermis acts as a waterproof barrier, preventing poisons, irritants, and microorganisms from penetrating. If the skin is cut or grazed, it will immediately create a scab that will serve as a temporary barrier while the skin below heals. Other interesting defenses include the skin's salinity and the existence of a healthy flora, as these circumstances do not favor bacterial growth. Using the enzymes that are present in the secretions of interior mucous membrane, the body is also able to overcome microorganisms. These membrane filter viruses, allergens, and infectious agents while still enabling nutrients to pass through. The gastrointestinal system contains several substances that function as chemical barriers against infection, including stomach acid, pancreatic enzymes, bile, and intestinal secretions. Peristaltic contractions used to convey chyme through the digestive system also aid in removing bacteria that may otherwise be harmful. It is crucial to have a healthy digestive system since, according to pathologists, up to 70% of our immune system is located there. Microorganisms that might damage humans if not controlled. It is crucial to have a healthy digestive system since our nasal canals are lined with a thick mucus that captures bacteria before they can reach the airway. Since pathogens can also enter the body through the nose, humans also have small projections called cilia on the lining of the airway that sweep particles up to the throat where they can be absorbed into the stomach. Since this is not always completely efficient. The female urethra is a short and can operate as a pathway for external bacteria to enter the bladder. Even though female urinary tract possesses good barriers against infection, however, as the bladder empties, the majority of bacteria will be pushed out, and this is true for both sexes. An inflammatory reaction is the body's response to damage or infection and involves a variety of cellular activities when an injury occurs. The physical result is the dilation of blood vessels, which creates openings in the cell wall, enables big blood cells to pass through, boosts blood flow, and causes inflammation. Due to the excess blood and proteins drawn to the infection, the area may seem bloated, feel warm to the touch, and often painful due to the inflammation. One of our second lines of defense, inflammation, is essential because isolates the region, prevents harm from spreading, and speeds up the recovery. In the diagram, we can see illustrations of the skin region where the cells have produced chemical signals to tell phagocytes, more particularly macrophages, to migrate into the area and take bacteria into vessels known as phagosome. This second line of natural defense is called phagocytosis and takes place throughout this process. A phagoslime is produced when a phagosome and lysosome combine. The phagocytosis process comes to an end when the contents of this phagosome, which is packed with the digestive enzymes, are destroyed. When then inflammation develops, macrophages are produced from monocytes, and they are crucial to the immune system by preventing or eliminating infections. Macrophages, a kind of cytokine cell, protect the body against microbial infection. The next section of the presentation covers section 2 of the assignment. It demonstrates the understanding of specific immunity. Cytokines are complement proteins made by a variety of cells that mediate inflammation and immunity while also enhancing the immune response. Through signal, there are a total of more than 30 complement proteins that become active. For instance, when a pathogen is present in a series of interactions, they draw phagocytes to remove undesired particles, start an inflammatory response, and make proteins to fight against invading pathogens. Antigens are molecules that are present in the pathogens and frequently aid in the infection influx in the body. By alerting the cells to attack, antigens trigger the immunological reaction in the body. Neutrophils lack antigens, whereas macrophages do. The most common white blood cell are neutrophils, which are frequently the first to arrive and at the site of an infection or damage. These spherical cells of medium size attach to the blood vessels walls and prevent infections from entering circulation. To carry out the phagocytosis process, monocytes differentiate into macrophages on the slide. Descriptions of several immune cells may be seen. Another form of white blood cell is the lymphocyte, which is present throughout the body in the lymphatic tissue. Lymphocytes come in two different varieties, T cells and B cells. The thymus gland is where T cells develop and work to assist the body eliminate undesirable cells like infections or even cancerous cells. The most prevalent form of T cells, helper T cell, control the majority of immunological process in the body by secreting lymphokines that encourages the growth and assault of other T cells. When activated, B cell and the bone marrow create antibodies, also known as immunoglobulins. A subset of B cells called plasma cells produce antibodies into the bloodstream to promote memory and immunity. In the lymph nodes, B cells retain the memory of the particular antigen to employ against if necessary. Immunoglobulins serve a variety of purposes, such as attracting immune cells, removing antigens, and neutralizing toxins. The immunoglobulin chains are grouped in a Y shape, like you can see, with the smaller chains having a potential to attach to antigen. The name of the immunoglobulin comes from the kind of heavy chain it contains. On this slide, typical immunoglobulin variants are displayed. The most prevalent immunoglobulin is IgG. It is the only immunoglobulin that can transfer some protection from the mother to the infant through the placenta and fetal cord. IgE binds to the skin and mucous membrane cells, causing those cells to protect. Histamine IgE mediated response are characterized by allergic reactions such as hives, hay fever, and asthma. The invaders can be removed completely by IgM. Similar to IgG, IgM also activates the complement system, and the two forms can be combined to serve as an antioxidant against the toxin produced by microbes that cause diphtheria, tetanus, botulism, and anthrax. Depending on whether the antigens are self or foreign, the immune system uses antigens that are present throughout the body, as well as harmful microorganisms to signal whether or not to attack pathogens. Um, Pathogens include foreign antigens, which B cells will remember and recognize then they are detected in the body. This recognition will lead to the development of antibodies. Major histocompatibility complex molecules, often known as self markers, are distinct surface molecules found on all nucleated cells or MHC class 1 due to the immune system's capacity of self-tolerance. Cells class with these MHC class identifying tags won't be attacked, though it is known why B or T cells become activated against self antigens in a small percentage of cases. Um, a person may develop an autoimmune illness. The occurrence of hypersensitivity is an abnormal immunological response brought by the repeated exposure to a specific antigens according to their underlying causes. Hypersensitivity illnesses can be categorized as shown on the slide and several examples. Fatigue, pains in the muscles, meal temperature, and inflammations are symptoms of autoimmune illnesses that can affect any part of the body. One of the more prevalent autoimmune diseases is rheumatoid arthritis, which the NHS describes as long-term conditions that causes pain, swelling, and stiffness in the joint. Rheumatoid arthritis sadly has no known cure, but symptoms can be managed with medication and supportive additional alternative. It is thought that those with a family history of autoimmune disorders, women and smokers are more likely to develop an autoimmune disease. The NHS defines multiple sclerosis or MS as an illness that can damage the brain and spinal cord, creating a wide variety of possible symptoms, including difficulties with vision, arm or leg mobility, feeling or balance, which is another frequent autoimmune disease. These are the two different varieties of multiple sizes, with relapsing remitting MS being the most frequent. This type of MS manifests are periods of new worsening symptoms for a while, followed by a gradual improvement over a comparable amount of time. A brief course of steroid medication is part of the MS treatment in management of particular symptoms such issues with bladder control and muscular um, stiffness. An organ transplant is a surgery that typically saves lives because it replaces a malfunctioning organ with a healthy organ provided by a donor. Rejection of transplanted organs is the unfortunate result of the immune system is able to distinguish between self and foreign made antigen on the surface of a cell was mentioned previously in the presentation. When an organ is transplanted, it's possible that the immune system won't recognize the antigen on the organ and will amount as an assault. Physicians will use the process known as tissue type to attempt to closely match both the organ donor and the receiver in order to increase the likelihood that the body will accept the new organ. Additionally, a medication containing mono antibodies is given both during and after surgery to combat certain cells, which are known to lead to rejection. Rejection will come in one of the three forms depicted on the slide. If it does occur, as well, all patients will have some degree of acute rejection. Acute rejection is the most frequent kind of rejection encountered, given the incorrect blood type to accept an example of high pro-acute rejection. The third section of the assignment demonstrates awareness of biology of vaccination. Active immunity is the term used to describe resistance to a specific illness by the production of antibodies, either naturally or artificially. When a specific pathogen, such as the common cold, is exposed, natural active immunity develops. Although there are many different types of a common cold, once the body has been exposed to one, the immune system produces antibodies to fight their viruses, which are then stored in a memory B cells as immunity to that specific kind. Antigens are delivered to the body via the vaccination, triggering an immune response and creating artificial immunity. Similar to an active response, this reaction promotes the development of antibodies and memory cells. After receiving a vaccine, if the body were to come into contact with naturally occurring antigens, the body would be able to attack and eliminate them before illness symptoms appeared. The term for this immunological memory. Antibodies are transmitted from one person to another naturally as they are between a mother and her unborn child. This method of passing an immunity can offer a defense for up to 6 months. A person acquires artificially induced passive immunity when they receive an injection or transfusion of antibodies that were generated by someone else. Passive immunity has been artificially created only lasts for a few weeks since the immune system isn't activated through this procedure. A pathogen that promotes the formation of antibodies in order to produce protection is present in modest amounts in vaccines. Vaccinations may contain dead pathogens, harmless fragments, poisons created by pathogens or that have been carefully treated to produce living cells. Vaccines train your immune system how to generate antibodies that protect you from illnesses. According to the NHS, your immune system will learn this lesson for more safely through immunizations than by contracting the illnesses and undergoing treatment. Once your immune system is trained to combat a disease, it can frequently keep you healthy for years. This process that takes place when pathogen is first attacked in the body is referred to as the primary reaction. The antigen is recognized by the lymphocytes, and it takes some time for the plasma cells to create the proper antibody. During this period, the body frequently develops symptoms. The body will respond with a secondary reaction, which is much quicker than the main response. It comes into contact with the same infection again. Frequently, before symptoms appear, the memory cells are able to immediately identify the infection and develop the necessary antibodies to combat the antigen. Measles are defined a highly contagious viral illness that can cause catastrophic consequences like pneumonia. In 2019 article for the Vaccine Knowledge Project, the graph below, which comes from a Public Health in England, displays the total number of measles cases that were reported in England and Wales between 1940 and 1995. The first measles vaccine, which was launched in 1968, had a significant impact on the number of cases on scene of the chart. When the MMR vaccination, a second vaccine containing a measles pathogen, was launched in 1988, the number of cases was considerably reduced from 1999 to 2017. There were no more than 2 measles-related deaths each year, according to the Death from Public Health England. 10 people over the age of 10 passed away between 1995 and 1999. According to an Easy for the Vaccine Knowledge Project published in 2019, less kids were getting an MMR vaccine in the 2000s, which is why there have been so many outbreaks. Subsequently, in 2012, were reported to be 16 cases of measles, while in the first half of 2013, there were reported 1,287 cases. Okay. Herd immunity is a way to give immunity to community members who cannot get immunity, such as infants or ill, without requiring them to come into touch with the pathogen either naturally or artificially. The idea of herd immunity stems from the idea that illnesses are less likely to spread if the bulk of the population is protected by a vaccine or natural immunity before the community builds up enough immunity to achieve a herd immunity. A variety of issues might arise during an outbreak. For instance, infection may excite several antigens variations, making it challenging for the body to map. Infection excites antigenic variability, which causes similar issues to antigen variations since certain illnesses are easily on the thingy. Today's world is more internationally linked than ever before, making us more vulnerable pandemics as demonstrated by COVID, which makes it hard to build herd immunity. Before a vaccination were developed, measles, polio, and whooping cough were frequently fatal childhood diseases. Without immunization, we run the danger of contracting illnesses and disabilities from conditions including measles, meningitis, pneumonia, tetanus, and polio, according to the World Health Organization. The WHO vaccines have been between 2 3 million live annually. The WHO proclaimed um, smallpox to be seen in Europe in 2002. The immunization effort is still running strong, but as for this writing, more than 1.37 billion doses have been provided worldwide. Um, Children in the UK required to have 11 plus vaccines, including these types: tetanus, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, and influenza. These immunizations will be administered by the health visitor. Thank you for listening to my presentation.